The room was silent, so silent that even the faint hum of the starship's engines seemed to fade into nothingness. The air was thick with tension, the kind that made it hard to breathe. Around the massive circular table, representatives of the galaxy's most powerful species sat, their faces unreadable. At the center of it all stood the human ambassador, his hands trembling slightly as he held the datapad containing the Terran proposal. "We have presented our case," the ambassador said, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "This proposal is not just for humanity's survival, but for the peace and prosperity of the entire galaxy. We ask for your support." The Alien Alliance's leader, a tall figure with shimmering silver skin and piercing blue eyes, rose from his seat. His gaze swept across the room, lingering for a moment on the human ambassador. When he spoke, his voice was cold and final. "We reject the Terran proposal." The words hit like a shockwave. The human ambassador staggered back, his face pale. Around the table, the other representatives exchanged uneasy glances, but no one spoke. The silence was deafening. You can't be serious," the ambassador stammered. "This proposal is our last hope. Without it, humanity will." "Your fate is no longer our concern," the alien leader interrupted, his tone cutting like a blade. "The Alliance has spoken. The decision is final." The ambassador's mind raced. He had known this meeting would be difficult, but he had never imagined it would end like this. The Terran proposal had taken years to prepare, countless lives had been lost in the process, and now, it was all for nothing. As the alien leader turned to leave, the ambassador felt a surge of desperation. "Wait," he called out, his voice breaking. "There must be something we can do. Some way to." But the alien leader didn't stop. He didn't even look back. The doors slid shut behind him, leaving the ambassador alone in the silent room. For a long moment, the ambassador stood there, staring at the closed doors. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions, anger, fear, despair. But beneath it all, there was a flicker of determination. He couldn't give up. Not yet. As he turned to leave, his communicator buzzed. He glanced at the screen and froze. The message was brief, just a single line of text, but it sent a chill down his spine. "They're lying. Meet me at the coordinates below. Come alone." The ambassador stared at the message, his heart pounding. Who had sent it? What did they know? And most importantly, what were the aliens hiding? Without hesitation, he entered the coordinates into his navigation system and headed for the ship's hangar. Whatever was waiting for him, he had to find out. The fate of humanity depended on it. Earth was no longer the vibrant blue planet it once was. The skies, once clear and bright, were now shrouded in a haze of smoke and ash. The cities, once bustling with life, lay in ruins. The war with the Alien Alliance had taken everything from humanity, their homes, their families, their hope. In the heart of what was left of New York City, a man sat alone in a dimly lit room. His name was Dr. Arjun Patel, one of the few scientists still working to save humanity. The room was cluttered with holographic screens, each displaying complex equations and star maps. On the desk in front of him lay the Terran proposal, the culmination of years of work. Arjun stared at the proposal, his mind drifting back to the day it all began. It had been 5 years since the Alien Alliance first arrived, their ships appearing in the sky without warning. At first, humanity had been hopeful. They believed the aliens had come in peace, offering advanced technology and the promise of a brighter future. But that hope was short-lived. The aliens' true intentions became clear when they demanded Earth's resources in exchange for their technology. When humanity refused, the aliens attacked. Their weapons were unlike anything Earth had ever seen, powerful, precise, and utterly devastating. Within months, the world's major cities were reduced to rubble, and millions of lives were lost. Arjun had lost everything in the war. His wife, his children, his home, all gone. But he refused to give up. He believed that if humanity could just find a way to communicate with the aliens, to make them understand, there was still a chance for peace. That belief led to the Terran proposal. The proposal was a bold plan, a last-ditch effort to end the war. It offered the aliens access to Earth's remaining resources in exchange for a ceasefire and a promise to rebuild the planet together. It was a risky move, but Arjun and his team had worked tirelessly to make it as appealing as possible. As Arjun sat there, staring at the proposal, he couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had been growing inside him. He had always known the aliens were ruthless, but he had never imagined they would reject the proposal outright. What were they planning? And why had they been so quick to dismiss humanity's offer? His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. He looked up to see his assistant, a young woman named Priya, standing in the doorway. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. "Dr. Patel," she said, her voice trembling. "You need to see this." Arjun followed her to the main lab, where a group of scientists had gathered around a holographic screen. The screen displayed a live feed from the Galactic Council meeting. The human ambassador stood at the center of the room, his face a mask of desperation as he pleaded with the alien alliance. And then it happened. "We reject the Terran proposal." The words echoed through the lab, sending a wave of shock and despair through the room. Arjun felt his heart sink. He had known this was a possibility, but hearing it out loud was like a punch to the gut. Priya turned to him, her eyes filled with tears. "What do we do now?" Arjun didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind was racing, trying to process what had just happened. But as he stared at the screen, something caught his eye, a small detail that no one else seemed to notice. The alien leader's expression. For a brief moment, just before he turned to leave, the alien leader's cold, emotionless mask had slipped. There was something in his eyes, fear, perhaps, or maybe even guilt. It was gone in an instant, but Arjun had seen it. And it changed everything. "We're missing something," Arjun said, his voice low but firm. "The aliens, they're hiding something. Something big." Priya frowned. "What do you mean?" "I don't know yet," Arjun admitted. "But I intend to find out." As the others began to discuss their next steps, Arjun slipped away to his private lab. He had a theory, one that had been nagging at the back of his mind for weeks. If he was right, it could change everything. But if he was wrong? He pushed the thought aside and began to work. Time was running out, and he couldn't afford to waste a single second. The lab was silent except for the faint hum of the holographic screens. Arjun sat hunched over his desk, his eyes scanning the data streaming across the displays. For hours, he had been analyzing every piece of information he could find about the alien alliance, their technology, their history, their behavior during the war. And now, he was beginning to see a pattern. It started with the alien ships. Their design was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, sleek and efficient, with energy signatures that defied the laws of physics. But as Arjun dug deeper, he noticed something strange. The ship's power sources were unstable, fluctuating in ways that suggested they were being pushed to their limits. Then there were the aliens themselves. Despite their advanced technology, they seemed desperate, almost frantic, in their attacks. They didn't conquer planets to expand their empire or exploit resources. Instead, they destroyed everything in their path, leaving nothing behind. And finally, there was the rejection of the Terran proposal. It didn't make sense. The proposal offered the aliens everything they claimed to want: access to Earth's resources, a chance to rebuild, a partnership with humanity. So why had they rejected it? Arjun's theory was simple, yet terrifying: the alien alliance wasn't what they seemed. They weren't conquerors or invaders. They were running from something. As he pieced together the evidence, his heart began to race. If he was right, it meant the alien alliance wasn't the real threat. There was something else out there, something far more dangerous. And the aliens were trying to hide it. Arjun's hands trembled as he reached for his communicator. He needed to share this information with the human government, to warn them before it was too late. But as he began to type, a noise from the hallway made him freeze. Footsteps. He held his breath, listening as the footsteps grew louder. They were slow and deliberate, as if someone was trying not to be heard. Arjun's mind raced. The lab was supposed to be secure. No one should have been able to get in without his knowledge. Unless they weren't human. He quickly shut down the holographic screens and grabbed a small device from his desk, a portable data drive containing all his research. If the aliens were here, they couldn't find it. He had to get out. The footsteps stopped just outside the door. Arjun's heart pounded in his chest as he crouched behind his desk, clutching the data drive. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and a shadowy figure stepped inside. Arjun didn't wait to see who it was. He bolted for the emergency exit, his legs carrying him as fast as they could. Behind him, he heard the sound of pursuit, heavy footsteps, the hum of a weapon charging. He didn't look back. The hallway was dark, the emergency lights casting long shadows on the walls. Arjun ran, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He had to make it to the hangar. If he could just reach a ship, he might have a chance. But the shadowy figure was gaining on him. Arjun could hear them now, their breathing harsh and mechanical. He risked a glance over his shoulder and caught a glimpse of his pursuer, a tall, armored figure with glowing red eyes. It wasn't human. Panic surged through him as he pushed himself harder, his legs burning with the effort. The hangar was just ahead. He could see the doors, the ships waiting inside. Just a little farther. But as he reached the doors, they slammed shut in his face. Arjun skidded to a stop, his heart sinking. He was trapped. The shadowy figure stepped into the light, revealing itself fully. It was one of the Alien Alliance's enforcers, a towering machine of metal and flesh. Its red eyes glowed with cold, mechanical precision as it raised its weapon. Arjun backed away, his mind racing. There had to be another way out. He couldn't let them take the data drive. He couldn't let them silence him. As the enforcer advanced, Arjun's hand brushed against something on the wall, a control panel. Without thinking, he slammed his hand against it. The emergency alarms blared to life, and the hallway was flooded with blinding light. The enforcer hesitated, its sensors overwhelmed by the sudden brightness. Arjun didn't waste the opportunity. He turned and ran, his legs carrying him down a side corridor. He didn't know where it led, but it didn't matter. He just had to get away. As he ran, his mind raced with questions. What were the aliens hiding? Why were they so desperate to stop him? And most importantly, how could he warn humanity before it was too late? The resistance base was hidden deep beneath the ruins of an old factory, its entrance concealed by rubble and debris. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of oil and sweat, the sound of voices and machinery echoing through the tunnels. This was where humanity's last hope was being forged. In a dimly lit room, a group of resistance fighters gathered around a holographic map of the city. Their leader, a grizzled veteran named Captain Ravi Sharma, stood at the head of the table, his sharp eyes scanning the faces of his team. "We've received a distress signal," Ravi said, his voice low and urgent. "Dr. Arjun Patel is in trouble. The aliens are after him, and we need to get him out." The room fell silent as the fighters exchanged uneasy glances. They all knew who Arjun was, the scientist behind the Terran proposal, the man who had risked everything to try and save humanity. If the aliens were after him, it could only mean one thing: he had discovered something important. "What's the plan?" asked a young fighter named Anika, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Ravi pointed to the holographic map, highlighting a route through the city's ruins. We'll move in small teams, using the underground tunnels to avoid detection. Our priority is to reach Arjun and get him out alive. But we also need to find out what he knows. If the aliens are willing to go this far to silence him, it must be something big. The team nodded, their expressions grim but determined. They had all lost something in the war: family, friends, homes. But they refused to give up. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the future of humanity. As the fighters prepared for the mission, Ravi pulled Anika aside. "I need you to lead the extraction team," he said. "You're one of our best, and I trust you to get the job done." Anika nodded, her jaw set with determination. "I won't let you down." The city above was a wasteland, its streets littered with debris and the remnants of a once thriving civilization. The resistance teams moved quickly and quietly, their movements precise and coordinated. They knew the aliens were watching, and one wrong move could mean the end. Anika's team reached the rendezvous point first, a crumbling building near the edge of the city. From there, they could see the lab where Arjun was last seen. The building was surrounded by alien enforcers, their red eyes scanning the area for any sign of movement. "We'll never get through that," whispered one of the fighters, a man named Jai. "There are too many of them." Anika frowned, her mind racing. They needed a distraction, something to draw the enforcers away from the lab. She glanced at the rubble around them, an idea forming in her mind. "Jai, take the team and set up explosives along the eastern perimeter," she said. "When I give the signal, blow them. That should draw the enforcers away long enough for me to get inside." Jai hesitated. "What about you? You can't go in alone." "I'll be fine," Anika said, her voice firm. "Just be ready to move when I give the signal." As Jai and the others moved into position, Anika slipped through the shadows, her movements silent and deliberate. She reached the lab's back entrance, her heart pounding as she waited for the signal. It didn't take long. A series of explosions rocked the eastern perimeter, the sound echoing through the ruins. The alien enforcers turned toward the noise, their weapons raised as they moved to investigate. Anika didn't waste a second. She slipped inside the lab, her eyes scanning the darkened hallway for any sign of Arjun. She found him crouched behind a desk, his face pale and his hands clutching a small data drive. "Dr. Patel," she whispered, her voice urgent. "We need to go. Now." Arjun looked up, his eyes wide with relief. "Thank God," he said, his voice trembling. "I didn't think anyone would come." Anika helped him to his feet, her grip firm but gentle. "We're getting you out of here. But first, tell me what's on that drive." Arjun hesitated, his eyes darting toward the door. It's everything. The aliens, they're not what they seem. They're running from something. Something worse." Anika's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" "There's no time to explain," Arjun said, his voice desperate. "We need to get this information to the resistance. If we don't, humanity won't stand a chance." Anika nodded, her mind racing. Whatever Arjun had discovered, it was bigger than any of them had imagined. And if the aliens were willing to kill to keep it hidden, they had to act fast. "Let's move," she said, leading Arjun toward the exit. "Stay close, and do exactly as I say." As they slipped out of the lab and into the night, Anika couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled in her chest. The aliens were hiding something dangerous. And if they didn't uncover the truth soon, it might be too late. Back at the resistance base, the atmosphere was electric. The fighters moved with urgency, their faces set with determination as they prepared for what could be humanity's final stand. In the command center, Captain Ravi Sharma stood over a holographic map, his eyes scanning the alien fleet's movements. The data from Arjun's drive had confirmed their worst fears: the alien alliance was planning a massive attack on Earth, and it was coming soon. Arjun sat at a nearby terminal, his fingers flying over the keyboard as he decrypted the rest of the data. Anika stood beside him, her arms crossed and her expression tense. She had barely left his side since they returned, her instincts telling her that whatever he had discovered was too important to let out of her sight. How much longer? Ravi asked, his voice tight with impatience. Almost there, Arjun replied, his eyes never leaving the screen. This data is heavily encrypted, but I'm close to breaking through. The room fell silent as the fighters waited, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Finally, the screen flashed, and Arjun leaned back with a sigh of relief. Got it. Ravi and Anika crowded around the terminal as Arjun pulled up the decrypted files. The screen filled with images and diagrams, each more alarming than the last. There were schematics of alien ships, star maps, and reports of a mysterious entity known only as the Devourer. What is this? Anika asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Arjun took a deep breath, his hands trembling slightly as he began to explain. The alien alliance isn't the real threat. They're running from something, a force of destruction that's been consuming entire star systems. They call it the Devourer. The room went still as the fighters processed his words. Ravi's face was pale, his usual composure slipping for the first time. Are you saying this thing is coming here? Arjun nodded. According to these reports, the Devourer is heading toward our sector of the galaxy. The alien alliance has been trying to outrun it, but they're running out of time. That's why they've been so desperate to take Earth's resources. They're not trying to conquer us, they're trying to survive. Anika's mind raced as she tried to make sense of it all. So when they rejected the Terran proposal, they were buying time, Arjun finished. They knew they couldn't afford to share resources with us. They needed everything they could get to keep running. Ravi slammed his fist on the table, his frustration boiling over. And now they're going to destroy us to save themselves. Not if we stop them, Anika said, her voice firm. We have the data. We know their plans. If we can use this information to rally the remaining human forces, we might have a chance. Arjun shook his head. It's not that simple. The alien fleet is already on its way. We don't have enough time to mount a proper defense. Then we'll make time, Ravi said, his eyes blazing with determination. We'll hit them where it hurts, take out their command ships, disrupt their communications, anything to slow them down. Anika nodded, her mind already working through the possibilities. We'll need to split into teams. One group can focus on sabotage, while the other prepares for the main attack. Arjun looked between them, his expression a mix of fear and hope. There's something else, he said, pulling up another file. The data includes schematics for a weapon, a prototype the aliens were developing to fight the Devourer. If we can get our hands on it, we might be able to turn the tide. Ravi's eyes narrowed as he studied the schematics. Where is it? On one of their research stations, Arjun replied. It's heavily guarded, but if we can infiltrate it. We'll need a small team, Anika said, already thinking of the best fighters for the job. Fast and quiet. No room for mistakes. Ravi nodded. You'll lead the infiltration team. Take whoever you need. The rest of us will focus on slowing down the fleet. As the fighters began to mobilize, Arjun grabbed Anika's arm, his grip tight. Be careful, he said, his voice low. If the aliens find out what we're planning, they'll stop at nothing to destroy us. Anika met his gaze, her expression steady. We've been fighting for survival since the war began. This is no different. Arjun hesitated, then nodded. Good luck. As Anika and her team prepared for the mission, the base buzzed with activity. Fighters armed themselves, ships were prepped for launch, and the air was thick with the tension of impending battle. But beneath the fear and uncertainty, there was a glimmer of hope, a chance to fight back, not just for survival, but for the future of humanity. The Resistance fleet launched into the void of space, their ships sleek and fast, designed for stealth and precision. Captain Ravi Sharma stood on the bridge of the lead ship, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the alien fleet's position. The enemy was massive, their ships towering and menacing, but Ravi knew they couldn't afford to hesitate. "All teams, move into position," Ravi commanded, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Remember, our goal is to disrupt their fleet and buy time for the infiltration team. Stay sharp and watch each other's backs." As the Resistance ship spread out, Anika and her team prepared for their mission. Their small, agile ship was equipped with advanced cloaking technology, allowing them to slip past the alien defenses undetected. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance to retrieve the weapon prototype. "We're approaching the research station," the pilot, a young man named Vikram, said as he guided the ship through the debris field surrounding the alien facility. "Cloak is holding. So far, so good." Anika nodded, her eyes scanning the station through the viewport. It was a massive structure, its dark, angular design giving it an ominous appearance. "Stay focused. We'll only get one shot at this." As the ship docked with the station, Anika and her team moved quickly and quietly. They were a small group, just 4 fighters, each hand-picked for their skills and experience. Their mission was clear: infiltrate the station, locate the weapon prototype, and get out before the aliens realized what was happening. Inside the station, the air was cold and sterile, the walls lined with alien technology that hummed with an eerie energy. Anika led the way, her weapon at the ready as they navigated the labyrinthine corridors. The station was eerily quiet, but they knew better than to let their guard down. "According to the schematics, the prototype should be in the central lab," Anika whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of their footsteps. "Stay close and keep your eyes open." As they approached the lab, they encountered their first obstacle, a pair of alien enforcers standing guard outside the door. Anika signaled for the team to stop, her mind racing as she assessed the situation. "We'll have to take them out quietly," she said, her voice low. "No alarms." The team moved with precision, their training evident in every movement. Within seconds, the enforcers were down, their bodies crumpling to the floor without a sound. Anika quickly accessed the lab's control panel, her fingers flying over the alien interface. "Got it," she said as the door slid open. "Let's move." Inside the lab, the weapon prototype sat on a pedestal, its sleek design glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Anika's breath caught in her throat as she approached it, her hand hovering over the device. "This is it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "This is what we came for." But before she could retrieve the prototype, the station's alarms blared to life, the sound echoing through the corridors. Anika's heart sank as she realized they had been discovered. "We've got company." Vikram's voice crackled over the comms. "Alien ships are closing in on our position. We need to move, now." Anika grabbed the prototype, her grip tight as she turned to the team. "Let's go. We're not leaving without this." The team moved quickly, their footsteps echoing through the station as they retraced their path to the ship. Behind them, they could hear the sound of alien enforcers closing in, their heavy footsteps growing louder with every second. As they reached the docking bay, they were met with a hail of gunfire. Anika ducked behind a console, her mind racing as she tried to find a way out. "We're pinned down," she shouted over the comms. "We need cover." "On it." Vikram replied, his voice tense. "Hang on." The ship's engines roared to life as it maneuvered into position, its weapons firing at the alien enforcers. The distraction gave Anika and her team the opening they needed to make a break for the ship. "Go, go, go!" Anika shouted, her voice barely audible over the sound of gunfire. The team sprinted for the ship, their movements fueled by adrenaline and desperation. As they boarded, the ship's doors slammed shut behind them, and Vikram wasted no time in launching them into space. "We've got the prototype," Anika said, her voice filled with relief. "Now let's get out of here." But as the ship sped away from the station, they were met with a new threat, a squadron of alien fighters, their weapons locked on and ready to fire. "Hold on!" Vikram shouted as he maneuvered the ship through a barrage of laser fire. "This is going to get rough." The battle was intense, the resistance ship weaving and dodging through the alien fighters' attacks. Anika clung to her seat, her heart pounding as she watched the chaos unfold outside the viewport. "We can't keep this up forever," one of the fighters shouted, his voice filled with panic. "We don't have to," Anika replied, her voice steady. "We just need to hold them off long enough to get back to the fleet." As the ship broke through the alien fighters' formation, they were met with a sight that filled them with hope, the resistance fleet, their ships engaging the alien alliance in a fierce battle. Captain Ravi's voice crackled over the comms, his tone filled with determination. "We've got you covered," he said. "Get that prototype to safety. We'll handle the rest." The resistance fleet was holding its own against the alien alliance, but the battle was far from won. Captain Ravi Sharma's voice echoed through the comms as he directed the fighters, his tone calm but urgent. "Focus on their command ships. If we can take those out, we can cripple their fleet." Anika's ship docked with the resistance flagship, the prototype safely in hand. As she stepped onto the bridge, the crew turned to look at her, their faces a mix of hope and exhaustion. Ravi approached her, his eyes locking onto the device she carried. "Is that it?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Anika nodded, holding out the prototype. "This is what they've been hiding. If we can activate it, we might have a chance." Ravi took the device, his hands trembling slightly as he examined it. "Do we know how it works?" "Not yet," Anika admitted. "But Arjun is working on it. He's our best shot at figuring it out." As if on cue, Arjun's voice came over the comms. "I've analyzed the prototype schematics. It's a resonance weapon, designed to disrupt the energy fields that power the alien ships. If we can activate it, we can disable their entire fleet." Ravi's eyes widened. "Can we use it?" "Yes," Arjun replied, his voice filled with determination. "But we'll need to get it close to their command ship. The weapon's range is limited, and the command ship's shields will block its effects if we're too far away." Anika stepped forward, her expression resolute. "I'll take it. My team and I can get it there." Ravi hesitated, his eyes searching hers. "It's a suicide mission. The command ship is heavily guarded." "We don't have a choice," Anika said, her voice firm. "If we don't do this, we're all dead anyway." Ravi nodded, his jaw tightening. "Go. And may luck be on your side." Anika's team boarded a small, fast attack ship, the prototype secured in a reinforced casing. As they launched into the fray, the battle raged around them, laser fire lighting up the darkness of space. The alien command ship loomed ahead, its massive form bristling with weapons and defenses. "This is going to be tight," Vikram said as he piloted the ship through the chaos. "We'll only have one shot at this." Anika gripped the prototype, her mind racing. "Just get us close enough. We'll handle the rest." As they approached the command ship, the alien fighters closed in, their weapons locking onto the small ship. Anika's team returned fire, their movements precise and coordinated. But the odds were against them, and it was only a matter of time before they were overwhelmed. "We're not going to make it," one of the fighters shouted, his voice filled with panic. "We have to." Anika replied, her voice steady. "Just a little farther." But as the ship neared the command ship, a massive explosion rocked the battlefield. Anika's eyes widened as she saw a new fleet entering the fray, ships unlike anything she had ever seen, their design sleek and advanced, their weapons tearing through the alien fighters with ease. "What the?" Vikram began, his voice trailing off in shock. Anika's comms crackled to life, and a new voice filled the air, a voice that was calm, authoritative, and distinctly human. "This is Admiral Elena Carter of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We're here to assist. Hold your positions." The resistance fighters erupted into cheers, their hope renewed as the new fleet joined the battle. But Anika's mind was racing. Where had this fleet come from? And why had they arrived now? As the alien fighters were pushed back, Anika's ship finally reached the command ship. "We're in position," she said, her voice filled with determination. Activating the prototype. The device hummed to life, its energy field expanding outward and enveloping the alien command ship. Within seconds, the ship's systems began to fail, its weapons going silent and its shields collapsing. The alien fleet, now without their command ship, began to retreat, their formations breaking apart in disarray. As the battlefield fell silent, Anika's ship returned to the Resistance flagship. She stepped onto the bridge, her eyes meeting Ravi's. "It's done. The alien fleet is retreating." Ravi nodded, his expression a mix of relief and exhaustion. "Good work. But we're not out of the woods yet." As the crew celebrated their victory, Anika's thoughts turned to the new fleet. "Who are they?" she asked, her voice filled with curiosity. Ravi's expression darkened. "That's what we need to find out." The arrival of the United Earth Defense Fleet had turned the tide of the battle, but the war was far from over. The alien alliance, though weakened, was still a formidable force. And now, with the mysterious new fleet joining the fight, the stakes were higher than ever. Captain Ravi Sharma stood on the bridge of the Resistance flagship, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the positions of the Allied and enemy fleets. Admiral Elena Carter's face appeared on the screen, her expression calm but determined. "We've analyzed the situation," she said, her voice steady. "The alien alliance is regrouping, but they're vulnerable. If we strike now, we can end this." Ravi nodded, his jaw tightening. "What's the plan?" "We'll launch a coordinated attack on their remaining command ships," Elena replied. "But we'll need your help. Your knowledge of their tactics and technology could be the key to victory." Anika stepped forward, her eyes meeting Elena's. "We'll do whatever it takes." As the Allied fleets prepared for the final assault, Anika's team worked tirelessly to integrate the prototype weapon into their strategy. Arjun, his hands still trembling from the adrenaline of the battle, explained the weapon's capabilities to the gathered commanders. "The resonance weapon can disable their ships, but it's not enough on its own," he said, his voice filled with urgency. "We need to combine it with a direct assault on their command centers. If we can take out their leadership, we can break their will to fight." The plan was set. The Allied fleets would launch a two-pronged attack. One group would use the resonance weapon to disable the alien ships, while the other would target their command centers. It was a risky strategy, but it was their best chance at victory. As the fleets moved into position, Anika's team prepared for their part in the mission. They would lead the assault on the alien command center, their small, agile ship equipped with the resonance weapon and a team of elite fighters. "This is it," Anika said, her voice steady as she addressed her team. "We've come too far to turn back now. Let's finish this." The battle was fierce, the Allied fleets engaging the alien alliance in a desperate struggle for survival. The resonance weapon, now fully integrated into the Resistance flagship, hummed with energy as it unleashed its devastating effects on the enemy ships. One by one, the alien vessels fell silent, their systems disabled by the weapon's powerful energy field. But the alien command center was heavily guarded, its defenses formidable. Anika's ship weaved through the chaos, its weapons firing at the enemy fighters as they approached their target. The team moved with precision, their training and determination evident in every movement. As they neared the command center, the ship was hit by a barrage of laser fire, its systems failing as it spiraled out of control. Anika's heart raced as she struggled to regain control, her hands gripping the controls tightly. "We're going down," Vikram shouted, his voice filled with panic. "Hold on," Anika replied, her voice steadied despite the chaos. "We're not done yet." The ship crashed onto the command center's surface, its hull groaning under the strain. But the team was alive, and they knew what they had to do. They grabbed their weapons and the resonance weapon, their movements quick and determined as they made their way to the command center's core. Inside, the alien leader stood waiting, his expression cold and unreadable. "You think you can defeat us," he said, his voice filled with disdain. "You are nothing but insects, scurrying in the shadow of our greatness." Anika stepped forward, her eyes locking onto his. "We're not afraid of you. Not anymore." The battle was intense, the team fighting their way through the alien enforcers to reach the core. But they were outnumbered, and it was only a matter of time before they were overwhelmed. As the alien leader raised his weapon, Anika activated the resonance weapon, its energy field expanding outward and enveloping the command center. The alien leader's eyes widened in shock as his systems failed, his weapon falling from his hand. "It's over," Anika said, her voice filled with determination. "You've lost." With the alien command center disabled, the Allied fleets launched their final assault, their weapons tearing through the remaining enemy ships. The alien alliance, now without their leadership, began to retreat, their formations breaking apart in disarray. As the battlefield fell silent, the Allied fleets gathered to celebrate their victory. But for Anika and her team, the battle was far from over. They knew that the war had taken a toll on everyone, and that the road to recovery would be long and difficult. In the days that followed, the Allied fleets worked together to rebuild what had been lost. The resistance fighters, now heroes in the eyes of their people, were hailed as saviors. But for Anika, the victory was bittersweet. She had lost friends and comrades in the fight, and the weight of their sacrifice weighed heavily on her heart. As she stood on the bridge of the Resistance flagship, her eyes fixed on the stars, Admiral Elena Carter approached her, her expression calm but determined. "You've done well," Elena said, her voice filled with pride. "But the fight isn't over. There are still threats out there, and we need people like you to lead the way." Anika nodded, her eyes meeting Elena's. "I'll do whatever it takes." As the Allied fleets prepared to embark on their next mission, Anika's thoughts turned to the future. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but she also knew that they had the strength and courage to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And as the stars stretched out before them, a new hope began to rise, a hope for a brighter future, where humanity and its allies could stand together against the darkness and build a better tomorrow.